Have you guys ever accidentally formatted your memory card? If that's ever happened to you, go ahead and hit that like button. And while you're at it, subscribe to the channel so you guys don't miss out on future videos like this one. So I finally have my Sony FX3 setup complete. I'm pretty happy with it. This little package here is incredible because I'm able to shoot for over 9 hours. It's still very small, compact. I'm not using any V-mount batteries. I have an Atomos Ninja recorder, 4 channels here of audio recording. I have a front shotgun microphone and then a receiver here for the Rode Wireless Go 2. And everything was methodically thought out so that it makes sense. So what I'm gonna do first is strip everything off the camera and then we're gonna build it together. And I'm gonna talk about each component and why I chose it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. So this is what the FX3 looks like, bare bones, straight out of the box. You do get this top handle included, which is nice. The problem I have with this handle, and many FX3 owners will agree with me, is that you cannot attach a monitor or a recorder to this setup. Also, you cannot detach this XLR module if you plan not to use it. That's a really big problem because now you're forced to either use a third-party top handle, but if you want to use the XLR module, it kind of defeats the purpose of buying an FX3 in the first place. So the very first thing that I recommend you get is this guy here. This is an XLR Extension Handle made by Condor Blue. Now, I'm gonna show you guys a lot of products from Condor Blue. Disclaimer, they are not sponsoring this video. In fact, they've sponsored many videos in the past. We use their products because they're actually really good. But again, they're not sponsoring this video despite a lot of accessories being Condor Blue. So this is one that I recommend. This extension handle, like the name, extends the handle, but it also gives you additional functionality. For example, you now have a NATO rail up above, which is extremely useful, and I'm gonna show you guys in a second. You also have different RE locator pins, so if you wanna attach any anti-twist accessories, you can easily do that. And then you also have a cold shoe on the back, which is very useful too. And it's super easy to install. Like I said, if you own an FX3, this is definitely a must-have accessory, period, and you don't even need a cage for it. All it does is it uses the existing 1/4-20 mounts that you have, so it uses one above and then one on the back of the handle, and all you do is just put these 2 bolts, one on the back, one on the top, and then you basically secure it, and it's that easy. So this is what the XLR top handle extension looks like when it is installed onto the handle. And now, when I hold onto the top handle, I have about 2 fingers of extra room, which means I can add additional accessories. I'll show you guys on this side. So I got about 2 fingers of room. So remember I told you guys this has a NATO rail, which is very important. I'm gonna show you guys this cool magic arm setup. I've kind of Frankenstein this because Condor Blue sells these different attachments. So for example, this is a mini quick release plate and it normally looks like this. So you have 2 on each side, which they're great. But I kind of Frankenstein this one because I took this one out and now I added a NATO rail. These are very easy. All you do is loosen this up and attach a different ball. So now I can slide this into the NATO rail, butt it up against that XLR module as close as possible. And now check this out. This isn't going anywhere. It is securely attached because of that NATO rail. And now what I can do is I have a mini quick release setup up above. So if I want to run a monitor or if I want to run a recorder, I can just slide this in, lock that into place, and I'm done. The way it works is because now I installed a quick release plate, a base plate onto this, so I can just quickly attach different accessories as I need. And look at this. This thing is awesome because even right now with the setup, I still have about 1 finger left of room. And on the back here, I have this cold shoe. So normally I always like to have these for safety. So I have this Rode Wireless Go 2, and this is a receiver. This fits perfectly. It doesn't, obstruct any of the handle space. So again, you can see here, no problems at all. Now this is one of those things that just kind of happened to work. The cable that comes with that Wireless Go, the Rode one, actually fits perfect into this right here. It has like a little small groove. Again, one of those, I guess if you want to call it like a happy mistake. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug this in and show you guys. And because this cable is flat, it actually fits perfect right here. So when we plug this in, and you kind of tuck this in between the rail and the handle, look at this. Perfect. Like it's just, I don't know, it was just one of those things, like I said, like a happy mistake, and it just works. Now, I want to expand on this because the way I use it is a little bit more rigged up. So I have the Condor Blue cage. Now, one of the things I like about this cage, as I mentioned, I'm going to be using a lot of Condor Blue components here, is that they have an Arca Swiss built in to the bottom of this, which means that you can easily mount this onto a gimbal without attaching any additional plates. Again, very minimal. This literally fits like a glove. I don't have to detach any lens. These are the little things that you guys know if you run a cage, it's like, oh, I got to take the lens out. I got to do this. This fits like a glove. So even with a lens there, I can put this on, install this probably in a minute. It has 3 mounting points, 1 on each side because the FX3 has 1/4-20 mounts, and then 1 on the bottom. So it's very secure. So I'm gonna go ahead and install this and then show you guys what we're gonna do next. So now that I have the cage installed, I have different mounting options throughout the camera. I also have an additional cold shoe up above, which I like because you can lock accessories, has a little button here to keep things in place. And on the bottom, just a nice touch, there's also an Allen key that is being held up by magnets. So if you ever forget any toolkit that you normally would use, you can rest assured you can take off or put on the camera without needing any additional tools. That's nice. Now on the bottom, you'll notice that I have a little quick release plate, and that's because the next accessory that I use is this Anton Bauer Titan base, which I've talked about in other videos, and I've also done things on Twitter and on Instagram if you guys follow me there. So basically the way this works is I mount the camera to the base plate just by setting it, and it locks into place just like that. So normally, traditionally, you run rails on a camera, then you have a V-mount on the back. The problem with that is now you're blocking your LCD display. With this, all of your power is underneath the camera, and also because of that, it distributes the weight much better because now you have counterbalance because there's weight up above. So this is much easier to maneuver the camera. I really like the setup. Now, as you see it here, it will run this for 9 hours, including the recorder. At worst case, I've seen, even if you're running RAW, it'll run at the bare minimum 8 hours, this whole entire setup. For me, that's a whole day of use. But in the event that you're going even further, look how easy it is to swap. So again, the way it works is you have this base that attaches to the camera, and you don't even need to run a cage. You just attach this to the camera, and then this locks onto the bottom. So if I wanted to hot swap this, all I need to do is just take this out, push this button, the camera releases, and now I sit it on top of this battery, and now I have a fresh battery. So that's really cool. Now I'm gonna show you guys how I power the Atomos recorder and the camera. There's multiple ways to do it, but I'm gonna show you what works best for me and why I do it this way. So again, multiple ways to do it. I'm gonna show you the top 3 ways to do the Atomos recorder. The first one is using just a regular Sony NPF battery. The benefit or the pro about this is that it has its own independent power source away from the camera. Also, you don't have any cables running through it, which looks a lot cleaner. The con with it is that obviously it's gonna add more weight to the top of the camera, and you're gonna have to swap these out every hour to 2 hours depending on the brightness and what codec you're recording in. The other method is using a dummy battery. There's really nothing wrong with that. I use this all the time. The con with it is, of course, you have the cable, if you even want to call it a con. I mean, it is a camera after all. But here's a con. If something happens to this, like if it breaks and you don't have any additional batteries, which by the way, you should always have a backup source, you're kind of screwed because this is all you have. Now, this is the third way, which is my preferred way, okay? If you buy an Atomos Ninja 5, if it comes with this dummy battery, okay, once you put this dummy battery, you'll notice that there is a DC input in here because they give you a DC power so that you can power it from the house. Now, I use this cable. Condor Blue makes this cable. It is a DC locking cable. So what you do is you put this in here and it locks into place. It's also coiled and it has a P-tap on the side. So if I go here, I can connect this to the camera and now it's out of place. The reason I like this method is because I can buy 2 of these cables. They're about $25 for the price of a dummy battery. So if this fails for whatever reason, I have an extra one. It takes up less room in the bag than buying 2 of these. because obviously, again, you want a backup source. So this is why I prefer this method. Also, another benefit of using a cable like this is that I can power other accessories that accept a DC input. Unlike a dummy battery, I can only use products that support this type of battery configuration. Now for the camera, there's really just two ways to do it. One of them is running a dummy battery, which is great. The con with that is that if this dies for whatever reason, camera shuts off. I mean, that's kind of standard with any typical battery, and that's why you should always look at your percentage whenever you're running. The pro, of course, is that the camera will always have power as long as this has power, because the next method is a little weird, which is actually what I prefer, and it's running a USB-C cable. So the way this works is on the back of the Anton Bauer, there is a USB type A, and then this connects to USB type C to the camera. So if I do this, this is the way I prefer. Here's the con with this, is that it doesn't supply enough power to keep the internal battery charged at 100%. Listen to what I'm saying. So as I'm using the camera, it's using a combination of internal battery and also trickle charging the battery very slowly. Now, if I run this for 8 hours, it's still enough power because after 8 hours, the internal battery has about 30% from my testing. I've been doing this very long to know this. Has about 30%. So even if this Anton Bauer battery dies, I still have about 30% internal battery where I can continue to record. So if I'm doing a take and this dies, the camera still has 30%, which is plenty of time for me to swap out the bottom battery. Again, I prefer this method also because if I shut the camera off, we take lunch, we take a break, the camera's off, it is charging the camera. As you can see, there is, I don't know if you can see there, but there is a light here where it's charging the camera right now as we speak. So this is pretty much my go-to setup if I am running the FX3. Now I'm gonna give you a pro tip if you're shooting vertical content. But before I do that, let me put this HDMI cable, because I know how people are on the internet saying that I didn't have an HDMI cable, but here it is. By the way, if you're running this cage, the Condor Blue one, it comes with a locking HDMI, so make sure to use it because it works great. So this has a NATO rail on the side of the cage, and you wanna use it because if you get their top handle also has a trigger control button for recording. And now what you can do is this. Now normally when I do vertical content, I don't have this monstrosity, but you can do this setup and hit record and it works great. And the best part about it is I typically use just the LCD display on the bottom. So I'm doing something like this. I'm telling you, this works great. But just to demonstrate how easy it is to break this apart, I'm gonna probably attempt to do this in less than 15 seconds as I'm telling you goodbye. Everything is quick release. I guess this is like my favorite part of the breakdown, is just removing all of this. And I'm literally taking all the cables, even though I technically didn't have to. But here you go. Look how fast I broke this down. And then there's the camera. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. My name is Armando. Thanks again for watching, and you will catch me in the next one. Adios.